Pittsburgh, the city of steel. This place, which is built upon steel bridges, rich history, and championship sports teams, has seen rapid growth, then decline, and notable revival. The city evolving faster than many cities in the country. Forged by the dreams of entrepreneurs, shapers, makers, and hopefuls alike, this city came out of the fire to become one of the most populated cities in Pennsylvania. There are similar cities around the world that Pittsburgh shares its kindredship with, like Kaunas, Lithuania, which also has 3 rivers. But how did this city, with over 200,000 people, get its name and its fame? Where does this story begin?
Washington, my young friend, you seem pensive.
We are walking into a trap, sir. One thing you will learn, my young colonel, is that honor demands pitched battle. The French know this. But, sir, we are 3,000 miles away from Europe. I don't think they care.
Long before George Washington's fateful expedition in 1754, the confluence of the Allegheny and Monongahela rivers, forming the Ohio River, was already one of the most strategically vital places in North America. Native nations had called it the Forks of the Ohio for centuries, and used it as a major meeting, trading, and transportation hub. The Delaware, Lenape, Shawnee, Seneca, Mingo, and other nations of the Haudenosaunee, Iroquois Confederacy, and their allies all claimed influence here. It was the gateway between the Great Lakes, the Mississippi Valley, and the eastern seaboard. By the late 1740s, British colonial fur traders from Pennsylvania and Virginia were pushing aggressively into the Ohio Valley, ignoring French claims and often cheating or displacing native traders. The French, determined to link Canada with Louisiana and contain British expansion, decided to formally assert control. The French sent a small military force under Captain Philippe Thomas de Joncaire to re-establish relations with local nations, but more importantly, they began planning a chain of forts from Lake Erie to the Forks, and the new French commander-in-chief in North America, Marquis Duquesne, after whom Fort Duquesne would later be named, dispatched 2,000 French Marines and Canadian militia southward. They forced the pro-British Miami chief, known as La Demoiselle, Old Britain, to flee his village at Pickawillany, modern Piqua, Ohio, destroyed the British trading post there. A large French-led expedition under Captain Paul Marin de la Malgaie built a road from Presque Isle, Erie, PA, and constructed Fort Presque Isle, 1753, on Lake Erie, and Fort Le Boeuf, Waterford, Pennsylvania, further south, both within modern Pennsylvania. At the same time, the Ohio Company of Virginia, a land speculation venture backed by the wealthiest Virginians, including the Washington and Fairfax families, had been granted 500,000 acres around the Forks by the Crown, and was sending surveyors and traders. Virginia's royal governor, Robert Dinwiddie, a major investor in the Ohio Company, was furious about French encroachments. In October 1753, he dispatched 21-year-old Major George Washington, already a surveyor with Ohio Company ties, on a 900-mile winter mission to deliver an ultimatum to the French.
Dear General Duquesne, It is with absolute regret that I must ask you and your countrymen to vacate the land in which our colonists have settled. I beseech you, sir, to take upon your oath as an honourable man to adhere to the terms of the Treaty of Utrecht in the year of our Lord 1713. Furthermore, I declare all land east of the Fork Point a contention-free zone, which I must protest the encroachment of French and Indian forces along the Ohio. I ask you to please consider the consequences of the breachment of peace. It is my hope that with your honourable and sound counsel would allow the peaceful coexistence of our two peoples. Signed, Virginia Colonial Governor, Robert Dinwiddie. Year of our Lord 1753.
Washington left Williamsburg on October 31st, 1753, with frontier guide Christopher Gist. Washington wrote in his journal that it was extremely well situated for a fort, as it has the absolute command of both rivers. The land at the point is 20 or 25 feet above the common surface of the water, and a considerable bottom of flat, well-timbered land all around it, very convenient for building. Continued northwest to Fort Le Boeuf, where the French commander, Jacques Legardeur de Saint-Pierre, politely received Washington but refused to budge, saying the French claim was incontestable. Washington's perilous return journey through ice-choked rivers and hostile territory in December 1753, January 1754, became legendary. He nearly drowned crossing the Allegheny on a raft. Washington's report, published as The Journal of Major Washington, 1754, electrified the British colonies and convinced London that war was inevitable. Governor Dinwiddie ordered a small advance force under Captain William Trent, an Ohio Company partner, to build a British fort at the Forks. Work began in February 1754. By April, Trent's men had erected a small stockade they called Fort Prince George. But, later on, disaster for the British would come knocking. A massive French force of 500 to 1,000 regulars, Canadian militia, and hundreds of native allies under Captain Claude Pierre Pécontier de Contrecoeur arrived by canoe. Not realizing his meeting at Fort Prince George would spiral down into one of the most catastrophic wars of the 18th century and the world's first truly global